Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to take a look at the edit sample window where you can do any edits to samples that you have recorded directly into, say, the Kong drum designer or the NNXT sampler by hitting the sample button here. You can also use the edit sample window on any audio that you may have brought in from your hard drive that does not come with the factory sound bank. So for this example, I've already loaded an outside sample that I had already onto pad 1 here in Kong. Now I've got my on-screen piano key, so I'm set to C1 octave. This starts at C1, pad 1 does, so I'm going to press the A, which is C1.
Vous pouvez entrer.
And we can hear the sample that I have loaded. Now, there are two ways that you can access the edit sample window. One is you can F3 and bring up your browser, and I'm just going to go here so you can see from where you may be starting out with how you can get there. Song samples to the left here. If you click on that area, at the top you'll see assign samples. Click there, go to your Kong kit because we're working with Kong right now. Click there, and you can see that the sample that I brought in is here. These are going to have a different icon with a waveform than the any audio that comes with Reason that you're using from a refill. You can also tell by the names, the name here, Quartzgate, matches with the one in the name display here for your drum pad. You can select that sample, and I've got auto check so you can hear it playing, and you can choose edit here. That will bring up your edit sample window. That's the first way. Then I'll F3 and close. If you're working in Kong, you can also click the Show Drum and Effects and Edit Sample button here. Okay, so now that we've got that open, let's just go over everything that's contained within this window. We'll start with the waveform pane, which gives you a visual display of the audio file that you're working with. I've got two waves here because it's a stereo file. If you're working with mono, there's just going to be one. This window can be resized. And actually, maybe I'll leave it a bit larger since we're going to be spending the bulk of our time here. And with this bar at the bottom, this is the waveform navigator, so it functions the same as the song navigator and allows you to move horizontally and zoom. So if you go to either end, you get these double arrows, and I can then pull to the left and zoom out for more precise editing of the wave, and you can drag to scroll horizontally. There's also magnifying glasses here to accomplish the same thing. You can see these red indicators here. They indicate your start and end markers. And the arrows here will scroll as well. Okay, you've got undo and redo. These function just the same as undo and redo within the main program. You can also use Control Z or Control Y as the hotkeys for those. With cropping, this enables you to, I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out so we can see everything. The crop function allows you to select a specific area of the waveform. So if I were to select here and hit crop, then we've got that area that I highlighted. I'll Control Z, bring that back, click in a blank area to get rid of the highlighted section. You can also highlight and click the Set Sample Start End and crop that way as well. I'll Control Z. Control Z again. Now, I typically, when I'm working with samples, I do like to normalize, which will raise the audio level so that the highest peak in your waveform reaches 0 dB. And you may want to wait to do this if you're going to be doing any cropping after you've done the cropping. So for instance, if I wanted to select this area here and use this for my sample, once I crop that, I'll go ahead and normalize it, and you can see how it raises it up. If I were to perform that action before cropping, I'll Control Z and bring back. You can see you have these other transients here that this one looks like it's already hitting 0 dB. So if I hit normalize now, it's not going to raise these up as much as they could be if I were to crop them first. So if I hit normalize, you see there was no movement here. It didn't really do any adjusting because we've got these peaks that are already hitting 0 dB. Okay, so there's also, next we have the reverse function, which will, so if I press play,
Vous pouvez entrer.
Let's start from the beginning here.
Vous pouvez entrer.
Now if I reverse, it's obvious. It just reverses it. It's going to change the whole clip. Okay, I'll Control Z. If you are working, if you're going to be doing any cropping, another useful feature, and up next we have the fade in and fade out. So if I were to highlight this area, crop, I'll press play. And that's a bit short. Crop, play.
Vous pouvez entrer.
Sometimes you may have clicks and pops. If you've done any sampling or work with samples, I'm sure you are aware of those. The fade in and fade out function really helps eliminate those noises that may, or those clicks and pops that may be in there. So you can highlight an area where you may have the noise. You can even zoom in and really get in there, and sometimes you can even see the clicks and pops in the waveform. But you can highlight an area and just click the fade in, and as you can see, it made a small fade in there. I'll Control Z. Let's zoom all the way out. And I'm just going to choose a larger area so you can see something a bit more dramatic done, and I'll choose the fade out this time, so it's going to fade out everything that I've got selected. Okay, you can see that happen there, and I'll Control Z, and now it's back to normal. You also have a loop mode feature here, so if you select, say I want to have, let's play this back again.
Vous pouvez entrer.
And bring back the whole audio file and play back.
Vous pouvez entrer.
Now say I want to loop this speech area here. I'll highlight it and you can choose the button here, Set Loop, and that will bring in your left and right locators, which will go to each end of the area that you've selected. And then this first one here is loop forward, so it will play the audio file back, and then once it gets to this loop, it will keep repeating that. And usually if you're playing a MIDI keyboard, it will just keep playing that back while you're holding down the key. Once you let go, it will finish. So I'll play this back so you can get an idea.
Vous pouvez entrer, pouvez entrer, pouvez entrer, pouvez entrer, pouvez.
And stop that. The other mode you have is loop forward and backwards. So it will play the audio file from the beginning. Once it gets to the loop area, it will play backwards, then forwards. Backwards, then forwards. So let's listen to that.
Vous pouvez entrer, vous pouvez entrer, vous pouvez entrer, vous pouvez.
Okay. And the first one here is just no loop. So if you click that, then these left and right locators are going to go away. All right. If you're creating a loop and say you want that forward and backward, then you can choose set loop after you've highlighted it, and then you would want to save that. I'm going to go back to no loop, and the indicators are gone. Now you have, if you're wanting to set, an area, you can highlight for certain functions. One other thing you can do is use the start and end locators. So if you want to use the start and end locators, you have a function here where you can check this box and it will snap the start and end locators to transients within the waveform. So if I have it unchecked, I can drag freely anywhere and it smoothly goes along. If I choose the snap sample start and end to transients, when I drag this now, you see it snaps. You can see it jumping. The same for the end. And that's the snap sample start end to transients. If you are going to work with loops and you select an area and set the loop, bring your indicators, and say we'll go with forward and backward again, you also have a crossfade checkbox here. And that just sets a crossfade in your loop if you set up a loop, and it's helpful for removing any clicks or imperfections. I'll deselect that. Go back to no loop. Click an empty space to get rid of that highlighted area. And so you've already seen the play button. This just will start, and it changes to stop after you've pressed play. The solo checkbox is if you are playing the song and you open up the editor while you're playing back a song, you can click the solo button and it will mute your track that's playing in the background so that you'll only hear the sample. You've got a volume slider, and the root key here sets the sample root key. So whatever the sample you're working with, whatever you choose here, you can use the down arrows or you can type in the box. It will set that as the root key for the sample you're working with. The root key being it's going to play back the audio as it was recorded without any shifting of the pitch. The last thing that we have here is the name, where you can just rename your file. Okay, and I'll just hit save, and you can see here in the nano module, it now has the rename your file, which is not original at all, but that's what we changed it to, so it's now showing up there. And if we were to go back to the browser, you can see that it's also been changed here as well. And so I think that covers everything for using the edit sample window. I hope it's been helpful for you, and thank you for watching.